Thank you for coming today. My name is Joe Adubato. I'm the Director of Counseling at Burlington High School. And our goal today was really just to provide as much information as possible to not totally overwhelm you. But we wanted you to see some of the things. The presentation that I'm going to go over was shared already with 8th graders. And so they have access to this. We've been doing some activities. As you know, we had a field trip back in November, so the students were able to get the experience at the high school. That's kind of fast-paced, but we don't cover as much as we'd like at that point. So yesterday we came down as well. I don't know if you've heard, we had a panel of high school students in the auditorium, and the 8th graders were there as well. And it was a great opportunity to hear directly from the high school students on their experiences. The thing that we asked the high school students to do that came down is they each provided a profile of who they were with their emails. And so if students heard from someone that they heard about DECA or they heard about a particular club from a student, they could email that student with questions. All right, so we wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to do that. It was a very diverse group of kids covering all different clubs and activities. But before I dive in too deep, I just wanted to make sure I give an opportunity to our principal, Mr. Sullivan, to say a few words as well.
Morning, everybody. I'm not going to say a lot. Joe does an excellent job at the high school leading the counseling department in this transition process. We do a tremendous amount of work trying to make the transition as easy as possible for all of you. And I just know anecdotally, I have a freshman at Belmont High School, and they don't do nearly as much as we do here. So hopefully you find the process easy, and I'm here to answer questions at the end. So anything that you have that's concerning you or questions about the process, I'm happy to answer anything that you have.
And and with this whole process, our goal is, it's not really to tell you what to do or tell your child what to do. We want it to be collaborative. This is the time, especially going into high school, they need to really be involved in the decision process now. So the 8th graders, as they're going through this process, certainly, working with parents and things like that are very, very important, but we want to make sure we kind of have that collaborative relationship. So, and you can ask questions. Feel free to ask questions as I'm going along. We do have BCAT filming for those that, if you had friends that couldn't make it or they would like to kind of hear what was said today, it'll be posted up on BCAT. We have a section on the BCAT page called Counseling Specials. So all our events, we have some events at the high school at night. Those are all filmed. We usually always record our events, so parents can certainly feel free to check those out. But without further ado, I'm just going to jump in and start going with what the students had seen. So this is the program of studies cover. I feel like years ago it had a little bit more to it in the sense that we used to print out a copy of our program of studies, which would be now kind of old school, I guess, and every student used to get one. That was years ago, but now with everything online, it's pretty much online, the program of studies. However, all the teachers here, all the 8th grade teachers, and Mrs. Wiley, the 8th grade counselor, all the high school teachers, we do all have hard copies. And then we keep some in our office, so if someone wanted to borrow one or use one, they could certainly do that, but just know it's online, okay? So this is the cover. It's an assignment in one of our art classes at the high school. The class produces like a dozen or so covers, and then it goes through kind of a selection process, and so this was this year's cover. His last name is Magnarelli. I can't remember his first name.
Anthony?
Maybe it was Anthony, yeah. Thank you. So that was the cover art. Again, it actually says will be posted soon, but it's posted now. It's on the website. So the program of studies, just so everyone knows, it's a course catalog. It lists all our courses at the high school and the descriptions of those courses. And I think that, and I said this to the students too, but if you're going to be in a class for a whole year, you want to read the description to at least know what you're in for. And I think it's even more important to read the descriptions for the electives. Because from time to time, we'll have students that are going to a class that they didn't expect, you know, and so if that happens, it's hard to make changes at the high school. Of course, changes aren't that easy because 1,000 kids, they all have different schedules. It's not as easy as it could be at the middle school with the team setup. And so having those changes once the year starts, they can certainly happen, but sometimes it's a disruption. So we really emphasize to read the descriptions, the list of core courses and electives. So our program of studies is like 80 or 90 pages. It also has like academic policies and those types of things. But we do try to make it a little bit easier for incoming 8th graders. On the website, we have spelled out the specific classes that would be available just to incoming 9th graders. So that includes core courses and electives. Let's see if I can jump to it. Yeah, so you can see, so the core classes are pretty straightforward. But if I scroll down below, these are all the electives. All right, and the descriptions are here as well. All right, so you can click on any of these, and then you can see the courses. The descriptions aren't here, so you probably have to jump over to the program of studies. But this does list the names of the electives. I mean, some of the courses are self-explanatory as well. The thing that's important to note is for incoming freshmen, you're going to be, so we have 7 classes, so all students take 7 classes, and we only go to 5 each day. We drop 2. And so in the 7 classes, 6 of them are pretty much already selected. English, math, history, science, world language, PE and health, that's 6. That 7th class is an elective class, okay? A full year class at our high school is 5 credits. So electives can be either full or half year. We do have some freshman electives. Like if we jump back over here, I was trying to convince my daughter, because she's going to high school next year, to take public speaking. It was kind of hard to do that. I'm trying to convince her, but so public speaking is a half year class. So what that means is if you take public speaking, you need to choose another half year class to get the 5 credits. All right? Or you could choose to take a full year class like journalism. What was your elective freshman year?
Studio Art Honors 1.
Studio Art, so that was a full year class.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, part of the decision process, and what you'll notice, I'll talk about the course selection guide, is we do want you to put alternates as well.
Silly question.
Go ahead, yes.
I noticed you have honors class versus college prep.
Yep.
Can you?
That's coming up soon.
Okay.
Yep. Course selection guide is what, actually, I just talked to Mrs. Wiley, the 8th grade counselor. They all got their course selection guides today. Your sheet color is white, they're gonna come home with a pink one, just so you know. And so the guide is not, years ago we did have to it was turned in, but now where it's online, it's not collected. However, completing this is a good exercise to do for your child because once it's written down, going into Aspen really shouldn't take long. You shouldn't be choosing while you're in Aspen, basically. Aspen's just a way to collect it. The real work and thought process is going into filling that out in the discussions. All right, so I wouldn't worry as much about Aspen. It's more about the conversations leading up to it. Course level, excuse me. So,
in the 7 classes too, there's still room in the schedule for flex and study as well.
Yep,
right?
yep, and I'm going to talk about the schedule in a couple of slides as well, but that's a good point. So our classes are all leveled, and so all the levels are broken down on the website. We have foundational classes; those are predominantly for students receiving special education services. We have college prep, honors, dual enrollment, and advanced placement. Seems like a lot of levels. I'm going to do my best to explain them right now. We do it kind of detailed on the website, but just know college prep whether it's college prep, honors, or AP, or advanced placement, they're all preparing you for college, all right? So we have students that take CP, that go to college. We have students that take honors, that go to college. You could feel free. Students can mix it up, CP and honors. It's really driven by the course recommendation process. At the high school, there's probably about 92, 93% of our students go off to college, all right? And we have plenty of students taking a variety of levels. So just know that in the process. So we try to spell out CP.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you'll get to it. Do you have like numerical criteria for how students qualify for those levels?
So it's really dependent on the individual classes, if that makes sense. So like, if you're gonna take honors biology at the high school, there are prerequisites in the program of studies that you need to have, I think an A or better in 8th grade science. So there are prerequisites. Those aren't listed here. It would be in the course descriptions themselves. With that,
It's not as precise as like you get this number, you go to this level. There's a lot of like different criteria that goes into it. So if it's English and social studies, and if it's an honors level, the reading amount and the expectations outside of school are a lot higher. So the teacher recommend, like through all this process, the number one thing to think about is what the teacher at the middle school, like your current teachers, are recommending your child for. They know your kid best in terms of what they can do. And so it could be like a potential thing. They see potential and they would say like, you know, give honors a shot. So it's really not as like you got this number or this grade, so you qualify for honors, and you can always override. So even if like a teacher here recommends college prep, but you think as the parent and as a family you make a decision that you want to take the challenge of an honors class, it is more rigorous. There's a different expectation on how you apply the skills, and I think Joe's going to share kind of a breakdown between the two levels. Is that one of your?
that's right, yeah.
It's up there now?
Yeah, it's the one that's
So we
shared.
kind of outline like what the expectations between college prep and honors are for what your child will be expected to do. You know, the higher level of independence, there's an expectation that you apply the skills you learn in a different way. There's less scaffolding, there's less teacher-led kind of you know, instruction in the class. So all those things and how your current teacher would think your kid can perform in that way would factor into that decision. So it's not so much as like one criteria or numerical thing that you got that would qualify you for it. It's a combination of factors that would lead to the recommendation.
And the teacher's recommendation probably has details documented somewhere on why they...
I don't know exactly how detailed the recommendation here at the middle school is in terms of what they give you for what they recommend, but if you have any questions, the first phone call should be to that teacher to say, he was recommended or she was recommended for college prep, and I'm concerned about that. I really want them to take honors, and have a conversation about why they made that recommendation.
Thank you.
And there, yeah, I think that's great points to make. The recommendations are now visible too on Aspen. So if you go into Aspen now, on your account, there'll be a new tab. You'll notice on the left-hand side down below, I can't remember if it says requests, but you would click on that tab and you'll see the recommendations. It's just the recommendation. There's no other detail beyond that. Conversations, though, would be happening between your child and the teacher about the level. And with the levels, and this, I'll share this with everyone after, but there's more of an extensive breakdown. I do think that with honors, you know, taking an honors class, they should hopefully enjoy that subject a little bit as well. I think that can be helpful. I think there is an expectation that, you know, with the extra work outside the homework, that type of thing, it's probably going to be a little bit more so, a little bit more in depth maybe. Not to say CP doesn't do that, but we really try to spell out kind of some of the big things. Mr. Sullivan mentioned a few. And I do think with the honors, again, consulting with the teacher, consulting with Ms. Wiley, because as you know, the teachers feel, you know, in one particular area how your child's doing. And then as a parent and your conversations with your child and the counselor, you gotta look at the big picture to try to find that balance of whether it's CP, honors, whatever the case may be. There's really not an exact answer, to be honest with you. It depends on your child and the conversation that you have. Have we seen kids take all honors? Yes, and they're successful and they do fine. Have we seen kids take CP? Yes. Have we seen a mix? Yes, we've seen a lot. Have we seen kids start out in CP, then take honors the next year? Yep. So we've seen all different scenarios. It's just a matter thinking in freshman year, you're transitioning to a new school, new building, that type of thing. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. And of the 6 classes, or the 7 classes, one's an elective, and then one is PE and health. So you got to keep that in mind too. So that might make things more manageable when you think about it that way as well. So we don't have an exact, but I really encourage you to have conversations with your child, with the school counselor, Mrs. Wiley, and then also with the teacher. Clubs and activities. We have so many opportunities at the high school. We have BCAT Club, as you can see. We have Julian here helping us out. So the clubs and activities, will have an activity fair at the beginning of the year in early September. And all these clubs have tables set up. And students can bounce around and decide what they, I don't know if you can see over here. I'm just going to kind of scroll through. I think we have about 60 or 70. So there's quite a few. I'm not going to go through them all now. But again, there's really opportunity for a lot of different things. And I would encourage students, and we try to encourage students to participate in these activities. It makes the high school experience so much better. Whether it's a club, whether it's a sport, whatever the case may be. We all know it's about academics, that's pretty clear, but it's also about social interactions, participating in activities, getting that experience. So we really encourage students to do that.
Excuse me.
Yes?
These are after-school clubs?
Yes, they're after-school clubs. I'll talk about the schedule. They may sometimes be during flex as well, but predominantly they're after school. They're not, a lot of them aren't like every day after school. It could be once a week, could be a couple times a month. It all depends on the club. How often is the BCAT Club?
Once a week, every Thursday.
Once a week, every Thursday. Okay, so it all depends. 4-year planner, Mrs. Wiley gave this out today too. 4-year planner is totally optional. But for a student that wants to kind of map things out, even if you just do grade 9 and 10, you can get a Google Doc going and start to plan things out. Maybe there's a class you're aware of, that your child's aware of, that they want to aspire to or take junior, senior year. So what do I need to take in grade 9 in order to make that happen? That type of thing. So you want the 4-year planner can be helpful in that sense.
I would really recommend doing this.
The 4-year planner?
Yeah.
Did you do it?
Yeah, when I was like a freshman.
Okay, that's good though. Math flow chart. I know there's lots of questions on math. We have a whole section on the website, 8th to 9th grade math transition, all the different things, all the different options, the class options, that type of thing. So we do have a flow chart on there. Science lists a flow chart as well. You're really taking biology in grade 9, but beyond that, we have a lot of science classes students like to take. So I would just take a look at that when you're able to. And computer science, we have a computer science pathway program. So again, encourage you to take a look at some of those flow charts. We talked a little bit about the course levels already. And I think some of our staff really worked hard on this. Actually, the course level descriptions were all kind of just updated this year too. And just to rewind a sec on the course levels, we have dual enrollment classes as well at the high school. How many are familiar with dual enrollment? Okay, not too many. That's good, you are. So dual enrollment, this is kind of a new spin on college credit. Typically dual enrollment was if you want to get college credits in high school, you go somewhere over the summer, you go somewhere at night, take a college class, get the credit. This is different. This is some of our Burlington High School teachers are also adjunct professors. Okay, we work with Middlesex, and we try to allay fears on Middlesex. Middlesex is a reputable community college. And these are college classes that can be transferable to any State Public College and University, and lots of private schools. So we work with Middlesex, we work with LaSalle, we work with UMass Boston. And so with those colleges, our teachers are adjuncts. The courses they're teaching during the day, during their existing schedule, they're teaching those college level classes. So for example, our psychology teacher at Burlington High School, she's an adjunct at Middlesex. So she's teaching honors in AP Psych, but that's it's a recognized college class. So those students, there is a cost, but if the student chooses to, you can get 3 college credits at the same time as getting high school credits. So it's in the building. It's starting to get more and more popular every year. We're trying to get some classes in there that all students take, so all students have the opportunity. It is an opportunity. You don't have to do it. You still have to go through an application process.
I would just say, as a parent myself, just strongly consider it. We've had some students that have graduated from the high school with 13, 14, 15, 16 credits, and if you kind of calculate that out at the expense of what college credits cost, it's a lot of money. And also consider, like, I know that Middlesex is sometimes a community college is frowned upon, but we've had lots of students who transition to Middlesex for a year or two, and then if you have a certain GPA at those schools, you automatically get accepted into any state school, including UMass Amherst, which is now getting extremely difficult to get into. So you can go to a school like UMass Amherst for a fraction of the cost junior and senior year, and come out with a diploma from UMass Amherst. It doesn't say via Middlesex or anything like that. So just something to consider. I know that it seems like 4 years is a long way away, but it's going to come quick. So hopefully everyone's been saving. But you know, it is something to strongly look at and consider, because there is a significant savings, and just the transition to college. Like, it could free up a class or 2 in the first semester when your child goes to college. So instead of taking 4 or 5 classes, they might be able to take 2 or 3 and make that transition even easier. So it is something just to consider. Look at the program of studies as to what's offered, and think about that 4-year planner as you kind of think about what courses you're going to take, and how you can line up with some of those dual enrollment classes. And a few $100s now is way cheaper than a few thousand, several thousand when you're at the college level. So just putting a plug in for that, because it is something that's kind of a hidden gem that we offer, that I don't think personally enough people take advantage of. So please, like, take a close look at it.
Can I ask a question? Is that similar to, I had heard you can do self-study in 9th grade with AP classes on your own. Is that similar, or is that different?
AP directed study?
Yeah.
That's for juniors and seniors who are enrolled in, what, 3 or more AP classes?
Yeah, if that's what you're talking about,
Yeah, I heard you couldn't, because Burlington doesn't offer 9th grade AP, right?
Correct, so AP directed study is not an option in 9th and 10th grade. We would never allow a sophomore to take 3 or more AP classes. That's just not an appropriate use of those students' time. It'd be way too rigorous for a sophomore in high school, in our opinion. So really, it's only available for juniors and seniors to even take that many AP classes. And so they have an option to take that AP directed study. They don't have to take it.
And you said to take that AP self-directed study, they have to be a junior or
Senior.
I think you're asking about an actual class, an
Yes.
actual AP class to take.
that I
Yeah,
heard was self-directed
we don't.
study.
So we don't have AP offerings for freshmen. I mean, people, obviously, I can't control what happens outside of the building, but we don't offer APs to any freshmen. And sophomore year students can take. We do allow sophomores to take 1 or more AP. If a student self-studies, usually, and they wanted to take the test, just so you know, advanced placement are classes that are approved by College Board. College Board is the agency that does SATs, PSATs. They cover a lot of different information. They offer an exam in May with these advanced placement classes, and if you score a 3, 4, or a 5, you can get college credit. So that's called advanced placement. We have students that take those classes as well.
If your question is if you can self-study for one
Yeah.
of the AP exams, the answer is yes. A lot of schools don't allow you to do that, so we get calls all the time from Lexington and other places that want to come take the test with us, because they don't allow their students to, say, study for AP Latin but take Spanish in high school. Our kids can take any AP test they want, so we have kids who are like native German speakers who take the AP German. It's not a class we offer, but we allow them to take the test.
Last year and this year we have AP Chinese and Japanese. So if a student wanted to take that, if you speak the language and you can read and write in that language and get college credit for it, yeah, so we as Mr. Sullivan said, he has allowed Burlington High School students to self-study for APs. At this point, we wouldn't allow an outside student to do that. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
And again, department heads, when they develop this, you know, students who take college prep level, 1 year can move to honors the next year and vice versa. So there's opportunity for movement.
Excuse me. The juniors program you mentioned, was it for the freshmen or is
They'll
it?
start to open up in grade 10. Yep. Just quickly, graduation requirements. So we require English every year. We require math every year. 3 years of science, 3 years of history, 2 years in sequential order of world language. So if you take Spanish 1, you have to take Spanish 2. Exploratory, those would be our elective classes, and then PE and health. So those are the requirements. We have many students that will take more than that. They'll take 3 years of a world language or a 4th year of science. The graduation requirements are in line with the required courses for mass public colleges and universities. So what that means is, you know, if your child just follows the graduation requirements, they're on track to hopefully be accepted, but it's not a guarantee, but you're at least taking the courses required. Obviously, it depends on your grades and there's more to it, but at the very least, you're in those classes. All right, so we're going to talk about the schedule. So again, as I said, 7 classes, we have 7 periods, okay? So you only go to 5 each day. All right, so first day of school, you'd go to period 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You wouldn't go to 6 and 7.
Well,
Next,
the first week.
first week we
Too much
go,
information, the first week you go to every class, and then our rotation schedule doesn't start till the second week of school, because we have homeroom activities, paperwork, stuff like that.
Yep.
So the first week, you actually see all 7 of your teachers.
and we found that to be very helpful, because students can really get to know their classes, how to get to each class. So we do have flex and support time built into our school day. So 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have something called a flex block. So flex block is 30 minutes, and there was a lot of discussion leading up to flex block. It's strategically placed later in the day, not in the morning where kids might come in late to miss it. We strategically put that later in the day, and students have opportunities for extra help with teachers. Students can meet with their counselor. They can meet with maybe a club or a class advisor. So that we use that time for a lot of different things. What do you typically use yours for?
I do use it a lot to meet with my teacher, especially in my AP classes. But right now, in my art class, we're working on a painting, so I've been using that time a lot.
Okay. So there's a good example. Again, students use it for different things, so it's a really good opportunity to get things done. Our classes are 60 to 67 minutes each, depending on the day. The days that we have flex, they're right closer to 60 minutes because of that 30-minute block. But Mondays and Fridays, the period's a little longer because there's no flex built in. The biggest adjustment, or one of the adjustments, which is usually well received, is the school start time is going to change. All right, they're going to be coming in now at 8:35. All right, so it's going to be a little bit later. And we started this, what year did we start the late start? I'm still adjusting. 7 years later, we used to start at 7.
The morning's great, the afternoon's
Yeah.
tough.
So it's, again, so we're 8:30, this is actually the hope for next year. Right now, it's actually 8:45 to 3. That's the hope.
8:40 to 3.
8:40 to 3 is what it is presently. We're still trying to work with the bus company to shift it a little bit more, to start a little earlier, not much, 10 or 15 minutes, but that would be publicized over the summer. So, again, that's the school schedule. We talked about all the different activities and sports programs we offer. So I just wanted to go over some upcoming dates. So you should have received an email through Parent Square. How many received the email? Okay. Everyone should have received an email. If not, let me know. That explains the process that we're going to be going, that 8th graders are going to be going through. Recommendations became viewable, and students' abilities to start to make selections are all possible now in Aspen. Now, we open it up purposely just before February vacation. You don't have, you can certainly start to take a look at it, that type of thing. But after vacation, Mrs. Wiley is going to make more, a big effort and push to meet with all the students, just so you know. Previously, we would open it up after February vacation, and we found that just opening it up now gives you the opportunity to start looking at things. You can choose to do some steps now if you want. You don't have to. But just know that it is open and teacher recommendations are there. As Mr. Sullivan said earlier, if there's a course recommendation that you're surprised about, that you want to know more details about, you're wondering why, talk to the teacher. Shoot the teacher an email, give them a call. I'd ask your child first, did they have a discussion, all right? And kind of go from there. If after that discussion you still want your child to take maybe an honors, they've been recommended for CP, we can go through an override process. Mrs. Wiley has override forms that you need to sign off on. It just basically says the teacher's recommending this, you don't agree, you'd still like to go with the honors, you can certainly do that. I would just make sure, if you go that route, that your child is on board, all right? You do not want to put them in an honors if they're not ready for it. It wouldn't be, and I know it's a balance because you want to make sure your child gets challenged and that type of thing. So again, just make sure those discussions are happening. So the Aspen portal is open, and it's not a race. So if you went in right now and selected everything, it doesn't make a difference if you do it today or at 11:59 on March 3rd. All right, we're just collecting all the requests. All right, so that's the phase we're in now. The portal's open, students are making selections. Those core academics you can't change. So when you go in, you'll notice you can't adjust the teacher recommendation. And that's because, if it's not what you want, you need to have the conversation. You can't just change it. So keep that in mind. But the electives, you'll be able to go in and select whatever you want. Again, February, which is now, into March, Mrs. Wiley will be working with students. She's already given them handouts today. I talked about the override process in Aspen. So, some 8th graders, and this happens every year, are using a family account. It will not allow you to select your courses. The 8th graders have to use their own student account. Make sure that they do that and they're in their own account. And if they're not sure, whatever, you can email Aspen. It's aspen@bpsk12.org. But we get several emails every year. They're in, we can't select it, I'm blocked from doing it. It's because they have to be in their student account. So again, first step towards that independence going into high school.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
For that override process, so say if they're recommended for college prep and there's a class you want to do, a level 4 honors class, you fill out a paper form with Ms. Wiley.
Correct.
And do you have to do that well before the deadline? Does something need to happen in the system so that you can then select level 4?
No, what happens is you do that override and then Mrs. Wiley can do it.
And then,
She'll get that form and she'll make the adjustment.
so then what do we do on our side? Do we just leave like less credits because she's doing that, or?
There's not going to be less credits because the recommendation's in there.
So she does it and then it reflects in the system before
Yes.
the third, okay.
Yeah, when you go in, you're going to see all the, hopefully all the teachers did it, but you'll go in and you'll see like whatever English, you'll see a recommendation in the system. You can't adjust that. It stays as is. The only way through the override process, you bring the form down, sign it, bring it to Mrs. Wiley. She'll go into the system and she'll change it. Then it will be reflected.
Okay. So if you're gonna do that, you have to do it earlier when it opens so that.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, yes. The other thing we do, is we're gonna send out the requests that you made, that the students made. So it's like one last double check. In other words, you're gonna go through the request, the window's gonna close, then probably a day or two later, we're gonna email you, here's your request, double check it. You know what I mean? Just as we do that at the high school too. It's another step to making sure that the students are in there, what they've requested.
If more students are selecting the same elective, will all the students get that elective, or do we need to select the alternate?
That's a great question. The question is, if all the students are choosing the same elective, what happens? Is the elective going to run? Not necessarily. We have alternates. If you notice on the guide, if you're following our course selection guide, you need to make sure you choose alternates. That does happen. Okay, so we ask students, sign up for what you want, but choose an alternate class and make sure the alternate is something you're hopefully going to enjoy. And so that does happen from time to time.
Is it in the system?
Yes.
Yes, yep, when you go in, there is an opportunity for alternates.
So is it like first come, first serve?
No,
How that,
it's randomized. Yep.
And the second question I have is, for the PE and health, is the same level for all students, or?
Yes, PE and health, it's the same level, they are all CP level courses, so every student is in that same level.
This sheet says health is only first semester. They have elected for the second
Yeah,
semester?
PE.
Oh, so PE is
Those are,
only
those are,
first
those are
semester.
teams.
Yeah, yes. And not to make it even more confusing, health and PE are only 4 out of, they only have to report to that class 4 out of the 7
They go to a
days,
study hall the next, yeah.
if that makes sense. So a traditional class, they just go,
5 out of
every
7.
day, 5 out of the 7 days. PE, they go 4 out of 7, and that one extra is a study or a free period. So thank you all for coming. I'll stick around. And does anyone have any other questions? All right, well, thank you all for coming. We do, at the high school, we do have a breakfast series too, so we'll have you'll be freshman parents soon, so we'll have a freshman parent breakfast in October, so we'll see you again at that. But I really want to thank you all for coming. Mr. Sullivan and I are going to stick around to answer any other questions, but thank you very much.